Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you all the books that I purchased kind of on the later half of the summer, and because I feel like I've just been buying a ton of books, I need to be on a bit of a book buying ban. So my goal is for September to not buy any books, and we'll see. I'm like kind of tempted to kind of carry this over into October as well, but we shall see. I know there's a few releases that come out in October, but maybe I'll wait until Black Friday sales come around, so we'll see. But yeah, this will be the last book haul for a while because, like I said, I need to kind of, you know, batten down the hatches and kind of read the books on my TBR because the pile keeps growing. So yeah, these, like I said, this will be the last book haul for a little bit. But yeah, I have some exciting books here to share with you. I feel like they're all over in terms of genre. There's some new releases and some that have been around for a while too. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. And just to kind of mix things up a little bit in this beginning part of the video, I'll kind of show you some of the stuff that I got when I was in Europe. I didn't buy any books when I was in Europe just because it's just a lot to lug around, but that did not stop me from going to visit some of the bookstores that were in the areas that we're visiting. I wish we went to a bookstore in Edinburgh, but we didn't have enough time. So I think definitely I want to go back to the UK. I think that was my favorite part, and spend more time in these cities. So I will definitely make my way back to Edinburgh. But when we were staying in London, we stayed in Notting Hill, and they have a really nice, cute bookstore. And so I was like, this is like a good thing because it's very light. These two things that I got were very light and easy to pack, and they're also like, I've been using them actually quite a bit because I don't have a lot of these like style of bags, so they're just good to have around. So I got the Notting Hill bookstore kind of tote here. My sister also got this one as well. I think it was like 2 for $5, so it worked out, or 2 for $10, sorry. So I got this tote here, which I really like. This is what I used in Paris to carry around my croissants and pastries that I bought, and like bread and all that. So I carried this around, and I've just been using it. Sometimes if I'm going to school, I like switch it up. Sometimes I do this one or the other one, where if I just need my iPad, I can just throw it in here and I'm good to go. But yeah, like I said, I got one of these little totes. And then also when we were in Paris, we obviously had to stop at Shakespeare and Company, and so I also got this tote as well. This one is a bit sturdier, which I like, but yeah, this bookstore was just super cool. You're not allowed to take pictures or anything in there, so I don't have any footage of that, but it was just really cool. So yeah, and this is like a good quality tote as well. So like I said, I just mix it up. Sometimes I do my Notting Hill one, sometimes I do my Shakespeare and Company one if I need to have my iPad at school. But yeah, I was like, these ones are good because it's like, I don't necessarily, like when I travel, for me, I don't buy a lot of souvenirs. Mostly like my souvenirs are my pictures, but I thought these would be something like I would actually like use as opposed to something that just collects dust. So yeah, I was like, this is how I justified it, and it was literally, I think this was like 15 euros, and this, like I said, was £5. So that was all that I bought during my travels, but I was like, you know what, I will actually put these to use. So that's how I justified it. So finally, moving on to books. This was a book that I read earlier this year, and I was waiting for it to come out in paperback because I have the first book in the series in paperback, and if I have a series, I like it to kind of be all the same. Like, if they're all in paperback, I like them to be all in paperback. If they're in hardback, I like to keep it consistent in terms of the format. So I got The Man Who Died Twice. This is the second book in the Thursday Murder Club series by Richard Osman, and it follows a group of kind of 4 friends who live in a retirement community. Sorry, I'm still kind of recovering from my bronchitis. But basically they form the Thursday Murder Club, where they look at cold cases that haven't been solved and try to solve them. And so when a series of murders start to take place around the retirement community, they find ways to insert themselves into the investigation. And like I said, this series took me by surprise. It was one of the Tales and Teacup book club picks, and after I literally read the first one, I got the second book from the library because I was just really loved it. It's really kind of adds some humor to a very kind of dark murder mystery like concept, which I really enjoy, and so I definitely understand the hype for this one. And I think the new book comes out later in September, which I have on hold at the library, so I'm very excited to pick that one up. But when I saw that this came out on paperback, I was like, okay, now I can add it to my shelf, so I was very excited for this one. This is a book that I've had my eye on for a while, and my boyfriend read it and he really enjoyed it, and I figured this will be a good one to read kind of in October for some spooky vibes. And it is a Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with this one. This book was everywhere, but it is kind of slight horror one. So it says, comes a reimagining of the classic Gothic horror novel, a story about an isolated mansion in 1950s Mexico and the brave socialite drawn to its treacherous secrets. After receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin, Naomi heads to High Place, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. Naomi is an unlikely rescuer. She's a glamorous debutante, more suited for cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing. But she's also tough, smart, and not afraid. Not her cousin's new English husband, a stranger who is both menacing and alluring. Not of his father, the ancient patriarch who seems fascinated by Naomi. And not even the house itself, which begins to invade Naomi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. Naomi's only ally is the inhospitable place in the family's youngest son, but he too may be hiding a dark secret. As Naomi begins to unearth stories of violence and madness, she is slowly drawn into a terrifying yet seductive world, a world that may be impossible to escape. So I thought this one would be fun to read in October with kind of that kind of horror like mystery type thing in here. And like, so my boyfriend read this and he really enjoyed this, so I was like, you know what, I've had my eye on this one for a while, so might as well go and pick it up so I can enjoy it in October. So these next two I bought together because they were like the buy one get one 50% off paperbacks that they have kind of scattered around Barnes and Noble, and I was just like, you know what, I've heard like this, the one I found really interesting and it kind of reminded me of Encanto, and the other one was what my friend has read and she said she really enjoyed it. So this is the one that my friend recommended, and it is We Are The Brennans by Tracey Lange. And so like I said, my friend has read this one and she said she really enjoyed it. So it says, when 29-year-old Sunday Brennan wakes up in a Los Angeles hospital, bruised and battered after a drunk driving accident, she swallows her pride and goes home to her family in New York. But it's not easy. She's deserted them all and her high school sweetheart 5 years before with little explanation, and they got questions. Sunday is determined to rebuild her life back on the East Coast, even if it does mean tiptoeing around resentful brothers and an ex-fiance. The longer she stays, however, the more she realizes they need her just as much as she needs them. When a dangerous man from her past brings her family's pub business on the brink of financial ruin, the only way to protect the Brennans is to upend all their secrets that have damaged the family for generations and will threaten everything they know about their lives. In the aftermath, the Brennans are forced to confront painful mistakes and ultimately find a way forward together. So this one I thought sounded really interesting. It's also fairly short too. It's under 300 pages. So yeah, like I said, I've heard, like I said, my friend really enjoyed this, so I'm really excited to see how I feel about this one. I like how there is a little mystery in here as well, and kind of, I do love family dramas like this, so I'm very excited to pick this one up. And like I said, this was the book that I found that I was really wanting to read, and so when I saw it was buy one get one 50% off, I got We Are The Brennans. And so the one that I was looking into is The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but this one kind of reminded me of Encanto, and so like I said, I was very interested in this. So it says, the Monteas are used to a life without explanations, but when their matriarch Orquídea Divina, please let me know if I know I'm butchering it, but how to pronounce this, invites them to her funeral, they hope to learn the secrets that she has held on so tightly their entire lives. Instead, Orquídea is transformed, leaving them with more questions than answers. 7 years later, her gifts have manifested in different ways for Miramar, Ray, and Rhiannon, granting them unexpected blessings. But soon a hidden figure begins to tear through the family tree, seeking to destroy Orquídea's line. Determined to save their family and uncover the truth behind their inheritance, they travel to Ecuador, to the place where Orquídea buried her secrets and broken promises and never looked back. So alternating between Orquídea's past and her descendants' presence, this novel is about what we knowingly and unwillingly inherit from our ancestors, the ties that bind, and reclaiming our power. So I think there'll be some generational trauma in here, which is always interesting to see unfold. But yeah, I found this one super interesting, and when I was looking through the book too, it also kind of has like this family tree. Yeah, so I'm just really excited for this. It just seems super interesting, and yeah, it kind of reminded me of Encanto a little bit, so we'll see. But yeah, this one just sounded super fun and interesting, and a little bit different too from what I normally read. So yeah, I'm excited again also to pick this one up. This is one that I've had my eye on for a while, and I just finally decided to bite the bullet and just get it because I've just been really, like, I've just been thinking about it, and it just seems really interesting, like a really interesting concept. And it is A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting by Sophie Irwin. And yeah, this premise just sounded super interesting. So it says, Kitty Talbot needs a fortune, or rather she needs a husband who has a fortune. Left with her father's massive debts, she has only 12 weeks to save her family from ruin. Kitty has never been one to back down from a challenge, so she leaves home and heads towards the most dangerous battleground in all of England, the London season. Kitty may be neither accomplished nor especially genteel, but she is absolutely single-minded. Embedded with cunning and ingenuity, she knows that risk is just part of the game. The only thing she doesn't accept is Lord Radcliffe. The worldly Radcliffe sees Kitty for the mercenary fortune hunter that she really is, and he's determined to thwart her plans at all costs until their pairing takes a completely different turn. This is a frothy pleasure full of, that's a very interesting adjective, this is a frothy pleasure full of brilliant repertoire and enticing wit, one that readers will find a complete delight. So I just thought this one was really interesting, and yeah, just something really different as well. Yeah, it just seemed like, I don't know, I feel like I've never read a book like this, and I just think the concept of just finding someone and kind of luring them and kind of wooing them in order to get their fortune, in order to pay off family debts, just sounds super interesting and unique. So yeah, this book, after reading the premise, I like went back and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get this book because it just sounds super cool. Next up, this is a new release that I'm sure you guys are all familiar with, and it is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is another book my boyfriend has read, and he's really enjoyed it too. I still need to read her Poppy War series, and I've had that book on my TBR for a while, so maybe I'll read this one first, maybe I won't, haven't decided yet, but it just seems super interesting, kind of dark academia inspired. So it says 1828, Robin Swift, orphaned by Cloria in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There, Robin trains for years in Latin, ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. The tower and its students are the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silverworking, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enhanced silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power, as the arcane craft serves the Empire's quest for colonization. But for Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. But knowledge obeys power, and as a Chinese boy raised in Britain, he realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide. I just think this sounds super interesting. Like I said, my boyfriend's read this too, and he really enjoyed it, so I just think it's like a very interesting kind of dark academia read with some fantastical elements thrown in, and kind of also political intrigue as well. So I think this will be a good kind of fall winter read. So like I said, I've heard great things about it. My boyfriend really enjoyed it as well, so yeah, can't wait to pick this one up. So this is a book that I've heard Sunbeam's Jess talk about on her channel, and she's really into kind of historical fiction at the moment, and I'm a big historical fiction fan. So this is one that I just found super interesting, and it is Booth by Karen Joy Fowler, and it kind of follows the Booth family, where the most famous is John Wilkes Booth, who ended up assassinating President Lincoln. And I just think that sounds super interesting. In grade 7, even though I've like grown up in Canada, we were living in Chicago at the time, and in grade 7 you do a unit on President Lincoln and you go to Springfield, and I was just really obsessed with that era, so I think this one just sounded really interesting. So it says, in 1822, a secret family moves into a secret cabin some 30 miles north of Baltimore to farm, to hide, and to bear 10 children over the course of the next 16 years. Junius Booth, breadwinner, celebrated Shakespearean actor, and master of the house, is in more ways than one, is at once a memorizing talent and a man of terrifying instability, given to drunken threats and directives amid a theater-born wisdom. One by one the children arrive, and year by year the country draws frighteningly closer to the boiling point of succession and civil war. As the tenor of the world shifts, the Booths emerge from their hidden lives to cement their place as one of the country's leading theatrical families. But behind the curtains of the many stages they have graced, multiple scandals, family triumphs, and criminal disasters begin to take their toll, and the solemn siblings of John Wilkes Booth are left to reckon with the truth behind the destructively specious promise of an early prophecy. A startling portrait of a country in the throes of change, and a vivid exploration of brother and sisterhood, Booth is a riveting historical novel focused on the very things that bind and break a family. So I just think this sounds super interesting, and I haven't really read too much into John Wilkes Booth in terms of his upbringing, and I know like kind of the things kind of around the time of the assassination, but in terms of his like family life leading up to it, and I just think it's really interesting in terms of the exploring the upbringing and essentially the fallout of his decision. So, and like things that have like shaped him into kind of going down that path, I think will be very interesting to explore. Sunbeam's Jess had a lot of great praise for this one, so yeah, I just thought this would be interesting because this is an era that when I was in grade 7 I really was like fascinated with, and for some reason, like for Civil War era stuff, I haven't read a lot of historical fiction that takes place in that time frame. So yeah, like I said, this one, when she mentioned it, I was like, oh, that one sounds really good. So I picked it up at my local bookstore, so I was happy I was able to get something local as well and that they had it, so very excited about that. And lastly, these last two are new releases that came out at the end of August. The first one being Carrie Sotto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I finally hopped on the Taylor Jenkins Reid bandwagon. I read basically all of her like famous ones, Daisy Jones and the Six, Ethel and Hugo, and Malibu Rising over the course of the summer, and so I was excited when she had a new release coming out, and it worked out too in terms of timing because we do get introduced to Carrie Sotto in Malibu Rising briefly, so I'm very curious to see. So it worked out very well, and so we get a little tidbit of who she is, so I'm very excited to see where this one takes us. This is a book that I'm currently going to be reading. I haven't started it yet, but it says, Carrie Sotto is fierce, and her determination to win at any cost has not made her popular, but by the time she retires for tennis, she is the best player the world has ever seen. She has shattered every record and claimed 20 Grand Slam titles, and if you ask Carrie, she is entitled to every one. She sacrificed nearly everything to become the best, with her father Javier and her coach as her coach. A former champion herself, Javier has trained her since the age of 2. But 6 years after retirement, Carrie finds herself sitting in the stands of the 1994 U.S. Open, watching her record being taken from her by a brutal, stunning player named Nikki Chan. At 37 years old, Carrie makes the monumental decision to come out of retirement and be coached by her father for one last year in an attempt to reclaim her record. Even if the sports media says that they never liked the battle axe anyway. Even if her body doesn't move as fast as it used to, and even if it means swallowing her pride to train with a man she once almost opened her heart to, Bo Huntley. Like her, he has something to prove before he gives up the game forever. In spite of it all, Carrie Sotto is back for one epic final season. And I think this is really interesting. And like I said, we do get a preview of Carrie Sotto in Malibu Rising, so I'm very interested to see. I think this is also just a very interesting premise, especially, like, I don't know, it just seems really interesting and all that, and having something to prove. And especially in Malibu Rising, we do kind of see that Carrie Sotto is very kind of harsh and cold, so I'm very curious to see kind of her character progression in this one, especially with Taylor Jenkins Reid's like novels. They have a lot of female protagonists which can be very unlikable, but you can't help but root for them. So I'm very excited to see what this one has in store. So like I said, this is a book that I'm currently will be picking up. And lastly, this giant book is a book that also came out towards the end of August, and I finished it yesterday. So I finished it within a week of getting it, which is very good considering it is over 1,000 pages, and it is The Ink Black Heart by Galbraith, the newest installment in the Cormoran Strike series. So this is, I think, the 6th or 7th book in this series by J.K. Rowling, and it follows a private detective named Cormoran Strike and his partner Robin as they get involved with certain kind of investigations. This one kind of involves this girl named Eddie, who is one of the creators of The Ink Black Heart, which is a cartoon, and she ends up approaching Robin, and she's getting kind of harassed online, and at the time Robin decides that this isn't a case that they can take at that point in time because they're taking on they have too high of a caseload. But a week later, Eddie ends up getting murdered, and so Robin and Cormoran kind of go into this investigation. I won't go too much into my review of this. You'll just have to wait till my September wrap up. But yeah, like I said, this book is over 1,000 pages, and I really do enjoy this series. I really am into the Robin and Cormoran. I just want them to get together. So yeah, this book is very big, very long. Did it need to be this long? No, I think it could have easily been a 500-page book, but nevertheless, yeah, this is the newest book in this series, so I won't say too much until my review of this. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below some of the new books that you've acquired over the past few months and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.